So I don't know much about batteries. I want you guys to teach me. You both are the experts. What is a cell? What is a battery? So what do you need in a sodium battery? Lithium cells have a lot of rare earth. What about solid state batteries?
One works on sodium battery, one was on the solid state batteries. So I choose a sodium one. I think sodium is amazing. I think it must be future.
Why does CATL have a monopoly on batteries then?
I wouldn't call it a monopoly. I would say they are very competitive.
Do you think there's an opportunity to start an electric car company today?
I think, when it comes to electric car company and, me being German, I'm probably a different view on this.
You were wrong.
Absolutely.
I hear of a Tesla catching fire once in a while or a BYD catching fire.
Last
a long
year,
while.
2025, the world had over 14,000 LFP fires. It is not once in a while.
Wow. Maybe it makes it to the news once in a while.
That is correct.
Thank you both, Tang and Henning, for doing this. I'll tell you why I wanted to do this. It feels like the world is going through so much turmoil around energy. And I have a fund, a private equity fund, where we do invest in a lot of energy transition companies. Energy does not seem to be the problem as much as it is the fungibility, the movability, and the storage of energy today. In India, where I come from, the cost of producing renewable power has gone down tremendously. But I think the problem, like in other countries, is we don't have the means of efficiently storing it and then using it when the requirement is. So I don't know much about batteries. I want you guys to teach me. You both are the experts. But before we begin, maybe you can give me a couple of minutes about yourself so our audience gets to know you. Would you like to go first? Or you? Either.
I can start. Nikhil, thanks first of all for inviting me. Much appreciated. Out of the beautiful city of Dalian. World Economic Forum just mentioned. They luckily gave us here the room. So I'm Henning, originally hailing from Germany. I'm a mechanical engineer, an economist by trade. And I built my entire life basically infrastructure projects. I left Germany around nearly 20 years ago, moved to Australia, worked for a mining company, then went to India, built a steel plant close to Kolkata, spent a lot of time in Indonesia, then came to China, studied in the US. And in the past 15 years, I've been working in China.
I was just asking him outside, how does it feel to be a white man in China? Good, right?
Good, of course.
Well, I feel very comfortable in China.
Yeah.
My family lives here. My daughter goes to school. It is safe. It is the people are friendly. Food is amazing. So
is it still a rare occurrence? White people in China, living in China?
Depends a little bit where you are, right? So if you're in the tier 1 cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, I think a lot of foreigners are around and working here. So right now I'm building a factory in Changzhou. That becomes already less. And then when you go to tier 3, 4 cities, then I think not so many anymore. But to answer your question, I feel very comfortable here.
Can your German tummy digest Sichuan and Chongqing now?
50-50. Depends a little bit. My wife is from Shanxi, so they also eat quite spicy food, but not up to Chongqing, I would say.
We were in Hong Kong over the weekend, and we went to this particular Sichuan place called Royal Majestic Sichuan. I don't know if you guys have been. And you know that chicken which comes on a bed of chilies?
Yeah,
We asked them to make it as spicy as they could.
that was a mistake.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong.
But great food in Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Would you like to go next time?
Yeah, okay. Thanks for the invitation. It's great honor. So my name is Kun Tang. I was a chemist before, so I got my PhD in the Chinese Academy of Science. My PhD synthesizes about the lithium iron phosphate thin films batteries. So it's almost more than 10 years before. And then I go to Germany. So I studied as postdoc in Stuttgart, Max Planck Institute for the solid state. So when I was there, I studied sodium-ion battery and got papers. So a lot of beautiful papers for the high impact index, something like that.
Yeah.
Then when I go back to China, so it's not easy to find a job in Germany as a Chinese guy, Yeah, so
But he got a job here.
yes, that's what I say.
I think like me, there are more of us and less of him.
So I go back to
Population.
Depends a little bit, very well.
yeah. So then I go back to China. I joined the national what's the name? The National Energy Group, the biggest group who has a lot of coal, who also has a great power generation groups there, National Energy Group. So I worked there for 5 years, and I got my supervisor's call to ask me to whether I was willing to join a startup. So because my classmate, my supervisor, has a new technology called sodium battery. When it reached to almost come from lab to the pellet production. So they asked me to work as a full-time CEO because the researcher cannot join as a run the business.
Right.
So I'm the several guy who not going in the academic as a professor, postdoc professor way. So I go to the industry. So that they asked me whether I have interest on that. So I got a quick check. I think sodium is amazing. I think it must be future. At that time, there's no lithium price problem. It's quite low. But we believe that because my supervisor is a very famous academician in China, Professor Li Chuanchen.
The father of Chinese battery.
Oh, that, yes. So, but he doesn't like that name. People will call him that, but he thinks that's a kind of praise, something like that. And I think he's kind of, we can call him as a strategic scientist. He saw that China should work on the next generation batteries beyond lithium. So he chose two different aspects. So one is a sodium battery with low cost, more abundant and resources.
Wasn't he the father of lithium battery?
Sorry, right?
Wasn't he like popular for lithium batteries?
He do not like the name. You call him that Chinese, but actually he's in China. But for lithium batteries, we have Nobel Prize have given three a very famous scientist in good enough professor, and one Japanese, one American one. So that's the father. Really, we call the father of lithium batteries.
I think there were Nobel Prizes for the anode, the cathode,
and the batteries in Japan.
Yeah.
They make the final products actually, and as keep following that. So there at that time we have two startups. One works on sodium battery. One was on the solid state batteries. So I choose sodium one. So works too long. So now our company now is about 10 years old. So quite big. We have more than 600 people.
Very nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And we also have the 1 gigawatt production line.
Very good.
Yeah, that costs a lot of money. It's
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start with what is a battery, because for a lot of people watching this, before we get into the details of what you guys do, I think it's important to explain the basics of. Maybe you can do a part of it. Maybe you can do a part of it. Henning, would you like to try? What is a cell? What is a battery?
So for me, a battery is actually everything that can store electric or any kind of energy, I would say. Yeah, they are kinetic batteries. So, for example, hydro pumps. So you pump up water, you store water on a higher level, and then you are basically let it fall down again, and you are transferring kinetic energy into electric energy.
Would you call that a battery? I thought only chemical.
For me, this is, I call it energy storage. So for me, there's a differentiation between we storing energy and then we are going into the battery, into the cell, and then basically into the chemistry, right? So I think energy storage, anything that stores energy. And then the battery, we talk about an entire system, a DC block, a DC block, so direct current stored in some form. And then you go into the cell, and the cell, we have many different chemistries, many different form factors, completely different topologies. And a battery cell for me is something where you are inject a charge, you are triggering a chemical reaction, and you are transforming electric energy into chemical energy, and you're storing it, and you can reverse that reaction basically and discharge it again.
So very simply, there's a cathode, anode, and there's a charge moving between the two.
Correct.
And there's an electrolyte and a separator.
That's correct.
That's a basic battery.
Very simple battery is an anode, cathode, separator in between, an electrolyte makes sure something is flowing in between them.
Right. And can you go like one step deeper and say how the charge is released from one, how the charge is received at the other? What makes this chemical reaction happen?
That is from each battery very different, but maybe you can start.
Yeah,
maybe we can talk about lithium first because it's the most popular.
Yeah, I can add some information, understanding about the battery things. Yeah, I agree that's a kind of energy storage and storage that's electric energies. And most when mentioned battery is chemistry. So you know that compressed air is we can't call it battery.
Yeah.
So it's kind of chemistry reactions like when you mention about the lithium battery, Nickel, my sodium, it's kind of like the pump. Just like the pump, you pump the gravity energy to there and come down. For the battery things, is you charge the ion from lower energy states to higher energy states. You force them to go higher, and then it's charged. Then when we connect the outside circuit, so the electrons goes back, and from higher parts, just like the water, draw down to the end. So that's a kind of energy storage similar with the pump water. Yes.
So a chemical battery. Okay, so if the electrolyzer is liquid, is it a certain kind of battery? Would you call a solid state battery where the electrolyzer is not liquid and a solid a different thing? Or does it fit into the same universe?
For me, it's a battery.
Yeah, it's the same. No matter what kind of electrolyte, whether the liquid or solid, it's that's electrolytes only pass ion, pass the lithium ion, sodium ion, and maybe hydrogen, some like that. But the outside is an electron. So the ion goes from inside, outside goes electron. They come together, minus with the.
So in simple words, if I am generating energy doing something, a battery does not generate energy. I have the sun or the wind or the water or a fossil fuel. I generate energy. I don't need it now. The battery is a medium where I can store that energy till I need it.
Correct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what makes a good battery? I've written down things like capacity, density of energy, power density, voltage, cycle life, C rate.
That's pretty much it.
Can you tell me how these work? Like, I know the headings, I don't know the details.
Yeah, sure. I mean, do you want to go first? Or?
You can go first. I can.
For me, there are physical principles and trade-offs. There's energy density, there's cycle lifetime, there's degradation, and depend on what kind of battery you need to develop. You need to adjust your chemistry, and you need to twitch and tweak basically in your R&D. What are you aiming for? Do you want to aim now for a battery cell that can have very long life cycles and discharge and charge batteries over a very long period of time? Or do you want to have a high power cell that can discharge a very high current during a very short period of time? So there's no perfect battery, but there's always a perfect match for its application. And we, in the design of the cells, we are playing basically between those trade-offs.
So if one were to assume the biggest utility for batteries is A, mobility, vehicles, and B, power generation. Is that right? Mobility and power generation?
Yeah, storage, let's say.
Yeah. Power storage after generation. What kind of batteries are suitable to that?
So for mobility, I think right now it's LFP. Previously it was MNC. Right now most of the industry moved to LFP.
Can you explain what LFP is?
Oh, yeah, it's a lithium iron phosphate. It's the chemical composition basically of this particular battery cell. And it has a lot of advantages. First of all, it has a high energy density, so it means you can store per kilogram or per liter high power, basically, high watt hours. Right now, the costs are relatively low because of various reasons. I think the industry doubled down on LFP over the past years. We scaled manufacturing capacities insane, which brought down the cost curve. And there are trade-offs, obviously, with LFP. LFP does not perform well in temperatures. So when it's very cold or very warm, LFP gets a little bit nervous. It degrades in its efficiency. Plus, LFP has an issue with fire. So there's a thing we call a thermal runaway. So thermal runaway, if you would imagine this, I think you are a scientist, you can explain it better. But in my words, it's kind of, imagine your body has a fever. Something is wrong. You caught a virus. And you're getting over 40 degrees and you feel very bad. But normally your body can manage, right? It brings down the fever, it triggers, and it heals. In a battery, if something goes wrong in a battery, you have a shortcut or a penetration from outside or whatever it is, you're overheated, the battery basically gets a fever and it cannot repair itself anymore. It goes into what we call a thermal runaway. The temperature is increasing uncontrolled, the pressure is increasing uncontrolled, and then it basically bursts into fire and it propagates probably the entire car, the entire container. That is a risk of lithium iron phosphate chemistry, and this is, I think, where both of us are actually aiming for, creating the next generation of battery that is safer, more durable, and plays with the trade-offs of the battery in a different way.
And is there no way to stop this in a LFP? I'm assuming every vehicle from a Tesla to a BYD is running on LFPs largely.
Yes.
And like Henning mentioned, conveniently for me, that when the battery gets a fever, there's no way to stop it above a certain temperature?
I guess there's a lot of technology working on that. They try to stop, but actually it's hard because they kind of with self-accelerate because the heat goes on, there's more reactions happens. So keep going. Once you pass the
tipping point of fever,
yes, it goes higher. But for LFP, currently it's dominant. Yeah, I think you are quite right because of cost. So before we use NMC, we use nickel, cobalt, the manganese. We can drive higher energy density by using this kind of expensive elements. But now we have new technology we call it C2P, to sell to the whole structure things. So the LFP you can drive a LFP driven car to up to 1,000 kilometers long range. So that's enough for most of the EV driven range.
You're talking about a new kind of battery now.
No, LFP.
That is LFP existing.
LFP. So that's why it's dominant now. But the problem is that safety issue. That's it. That's why in this lithium battery field, they are working on solid state batteries. They decrease the solvent inside the.
Is that why the issue? The solvent is the thing that heats up?
Just one part. It's not
The
the key
electrolyte?
issue. Not just because the solvent is easy to burning. We use oxide, something like that, because you cannot burn out the oxide. It's already oxidized to decrease the risk. But actually, it's hard to say that as a purely intrinsic safety because we have energy there. So normally, I always say that, frankly speaking, that the higher energy, the more safety issues. Because the energy, just like the pump is so high, but the tube here is so thin that's easy to break.
So bigger battery is more susceptible to catching fire than a smaller battery.
Yes, the high energy density.
Yes, high energy density because there's a lot of power going on, a lot of chemical potential inside, and therefore the reaction is proportionally larger.
How, like, I hear of a Tesla catching fire once in a while, or a BYD catching fire, or another electric vehicle.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's once in a while. Last
a long
year,
while.
2025, the world had over 14,000 LFP fires. It is not once in a while.
Wow. Maybe it makes it to the news once in a while.
That is correct. I was not aware of this. I learned this last Christmas, actually, while I was reading a newspaper. I was like, wow, 14,000 fires.
14,000 out of how many LFP using vehicles in the world?
That I cannot answer today. I don't know. A lot. So percentage-wise, I would say LFP is a good technology, is a stable technology, is a mature technology.
Yeah.
But there's still the risk of fire. And then the question is, do you want to have it in your home, in your vehicle, where you drive your family, your kids to school with? That's a question mark for me.
But I think the question is also, is it 0.1% or is it 0.0001%?
Depends on applications, I think. And it also depends on the year. When the first lithium iron phosphate large-scale battery storages were deployed, like in the 20-foot container, we had a lot of fires during that time because we weren't able, in a battery management system, every battery pack and every battery container has a battery management system. That is basically a piece of hardware, software that is controlling the battery on the temperature, on the state of charge.
Software?
So it's the algorithm that is telling the battery actually what to do and checking, is the battery healthy? Can I charge it? Can I discharge it? What is the temperature and so on?
I want to add one information about we cannot only rely on this kind of RFP. It depends who produce it.
Yes, that
So
is a
it's a
second factor.
tier 2 Chinese companies, the ratio of their safety issues always much higher than top like BYD, like CTL. So that's why CTL always sell about the 10% expensive than the tier 2. So that's also, so that means the safety issue is not only related to this kind of chemistry, really on the production quality.
On the quality.
Yeah.
And what's the life of these batteries? I know, looking at the market for used cars, used electric cars are generally cheaper than used IC cars.
Yeah.
So how long do these LFPs last?
Well, it also depends where you get the batteries from, what kind of...
Say I buy a
very,
Tesla.
very average. So if you buy a large-scale stationary storage right now, you would get roughly 10,000 cycles out of this. So you charge it up and you discharge it 10,000 times until the battery needs argumentation. It needs a refresh. So the battery would have a rest capacity of roughly 60% after 10,000 times charging.
But after 1,000 cycles, will the battery be able to hold lesser energy?
60%.
Yeah,
After 1,000?
10,000.
And in between 1,000 and 10,000, does it go down? Is it a curve?
There's a degradation curve.
the degradation curve. And also it depends on the applications.
Yes.
Actually, for Tesla, we think its quality is that because his guaranteed quality is about 3,000 miles, 30,000 miles, something like that. So that only requires the battery cycle for less than 1,000 cycles is enough for his guaranteed miles. But for any storage, we need more than 10,000 cycles. So it depends on the application.
very different.
The same chemistry you have different type cells. So that's short range, high power, long cycle life. Even you can ask for more safe RFP, just the cost issue. We can make it higher cost.
Henning, since you've lived here for 15 years and Tang, you're from here, how did BYD go into becoming a car company and become so large so quickly? What percentage of building a car company is knowing how to make a battery today, an electric car company?
So I'll answer first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I watched the BYD for a long time.
Yeah.
So they're doing the cell phone
Yeah.
batteries, and I think the first time they nickel hydrogen, something from that chemistry to lithium battery, to copy from the not copy but learning from the Panasonic way. They use all automatic one, and BYD choose handmade manual things. And for this, now it's only their batteries supplied to their cars. So outside they cannot buy his battery. So it's such a, and also BYD takes more than 10 years for this kind of thing. And they, so I heard that before that BYD's quality is not as good as CTL's, but when they put it in his own car, no one will feel that. So it's a system thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not the battery, it's the systems that run the battery.
System thing. So
why does CATL have a monopoly on batteries then?
I wouldn't call it a monopoly. I would say they are very competitive. They invested a lot of money. They were very aggressive. Robin, I think, is a strong founder with a good team, and they executed quite well. So I wouldn't call it a monopoly. I would call it a well-executed startup with extreme funding backing.
Yeah. See, after my trip in China, I want to go back to India and start a business. I'm trying to think, what should I start? Should it be an electric car company? Should it be a battery company? So I'm asking you questions also from that lens. Do you think there's an opportunity to start an electric car company today?
I think, when it comes to electric car company, and, me being German, I'm have probably a different view on this.
Yeah. You were wrong.
Absolutely. So the Germans, I think, innovated on the cars too slow. They were captured in their own think tank, and they were all competed by China. So China right now has a concept that we call tier 0 suppliers. You can basically order a Nikhil type 1 car, and then you can design it as you like, and you get it manufactured, and then you have your own car company. But how vertically integrated are you? Basically zero. You just create a brand.
But they're simpler, no? Electric vehicles have much lesser parts.
Yeah,
One
absolutely.
could argue it's much simpler than an IC car company to make.
Absolutely, and I think this is it is different on the mechanical engineering. It is very much more difficult on the software engineering and the system integration. I think this is where China overtook the world, basically, because they didn't dive deep into the ICE engines and figured out all the valves, the pistons, and all this stuff, what the Germans did. But they said, hey, we are building now an electric car, and we are focusing on the controller, on the software, on the batteries, on the drivetrain, and we are making it basically a fully integrated system solution. And I think companies like BYD, or now also, I'm personally driving a Li Xiang, and I love the car.
Oh, exactly.
I think those guys understood how to make basically a software first focused product that is also a car. And I think this is what the consumer needs, and this is what the consumer wants, obviously, at least in China. And I think Europe is catching up on the electromobility side.
What can I learn from them? If I have to start a car company in India, what can I learn from these guys that will help me achieve my goal?
I have a very strong opinion on this, but
and I don't know whether it's a good situation in India to start that, but in China, it's no one can survive. I think they said there are only 10 on the tables finally to left on the table, because there are more than 50 different electric
I think
cars.
it was, I don't want to say a wrong number, but I think it was like 400 brands or so popped
on,
up.
yeah.
It was
And
an
two are
insane
left?
number. No, like
They said
Finally, I
finally
think
return on the table.
10, 12 will
10,
survive.
12, something like
Because
that.
in India, the potential is there because we don't have that many EV car companies yet.
Yeah. I think what the Chinese really did, and again, where probably the Western car companies didn't catch up, is thinking an ecosystem. Companies
Everybody says this in China for everything.
yeah, but it's so true.
Ecosystem.
If you go back to Xiaomi, I have a Xiaomi TV at home, and it was super cheap. I don't know, a couple $100. I don't know. But the ecosystem is not that they're manufacturing a TV. The ecosystem is that they're running their softwares on this, and they're creating annual recurring revenues with the subscription model, basically. In the car company, it's, from my point of view, it's the same concept.
When you say ecosystem at Xiaomi, what did China do?
So China thinks vertically integrated from.
Like the panel is not made at Xiaomi, right? They probably buy it from TCL or somebody like that.
Yeah, it is. You are creating components that you are transferring into a product and then building a platform around it to generate more revenue from a customer. Same as a car. The car companies first, look at BYD. They also started with combustion engine, right? And then they were coming from batteries. They figured out the batteries. They figured out the drivetrain. They're making an entire electric vehicle. Then they went up into the value chain on the battery side, back to the mining side. But they also went down. If you go to BYD's headquarters today, BYD is not only a car company. It is a battery. It's a semiconductor
chips.
company. It is a renewable energy company.
But how could they afford that? Like if I were to start a car company in India, I would take years before I break even and I have the money to start backward integrating.
Nikhil, I have to mention that. So today's situation in China is a national drive for last decades. So, so the pure EV car, it can get easily charged in China, in most cities, but you cannot guarantee that happen in India. Or even in Germany, I don't think there's too many charge stations. But the government have spent a lot of money, and 10 years before, we call it 10 cities for 1,000 EVs. 10 years before, and the government gave a lot of subsidies for these EV cars, and there's a lot of car companies. They try to earn this subsidy with cheating.
It's also based on Chinese policy, to be honest.
Yes.
So
we spend a lot of money, waste a lot of money there. And finally, BYD and CATL survive. Even for battery companies, there's a lot of companies
people died.
died. Because they are not focused on their product. They are not on the quality, on the low cost, on supply chains. But BYD and CATL is the remaining two giants during the 20 years war, actually.
I think, how I see it from the policy point of view is China has a very long-term vision on industrial policy. They're setting every year a 5-year plan, but over a 20, 25, 30-year vision.
Right.
Democracies work different. You have shift every 4 years, like in Europe. So China had a long-term vision, and the Chinese government acting more like, from my point of view, as a government venture capital. They're saying, these are the 5 sectors we want to be world leading in. They're throwing a bunch of money in the ring and say, guys, I'm funding 20 companies right now. 5 will survive and they will be world leading. And this is what happened in batteries, in electric vehicles, in PV modules, and a few other industries.
Do they also have ownership like a venture capital company would 20 years down the line?
Some. Yeah. So to answer your question, would I start a car company? No, I wouldn't. I would start a battery company, because what India needs is certain, let's call it energy independence, right? When you come to battery cells, the battery cells that are available consist of rare earths and lithium. All materials.
Lithium cells have a lot of rare earth?
Yes. Define it a lot, but you need it.
Like what is the cost of creating a generic battery size of lithium, and what percentage of that cost is rare earth?
Lithium can cost, I think, 10% of
Rare
the
earth
whole.
is 10% of the whole cell?
Whole cell, yes. Less than 10%. But it depends on the price of lithium company.
Depends.
We've been reviewing like a rare earth company in India to invest in. It's still a relatively new business there. Yeah, so somewhere they could get to the oxide level, but the end product would always be so much more expensive than what they can import from China that it wasn't seeming feasible. Now, who bears the burden? Say I start a battery company in India and I use rare earth from India. The cost will be so much higher today.
See, that's where I'm after. Don't start a battery company where you need rare earths. Decouple your supply chain from lithium and rare earths. Create a new battery technology that you can actually supply with your local markets available. I'm the CEO of EnerVenue, and for example, our chemistry, we use nickel, we use steel, we use water-based electrolyte, and a little bit of glass fiber. That's it, what you need in order to create this battery. So if I would create a battery company that serves local markets, because geopolitics is not going to be better in the next 10 to 15 years. So the world, I'm 38 this year. I'm not sure about you guys.
Same age, 39.
I'm older.
But I grew up in a world where globalization was thriving.
Yeah.
This world is not existing anymore.
It's going the other way.
And we need to act on it.
What is this battery called?
Nickel hydrogen. So we call it the Aqueous metal cell. And it's a NASA-based technology that we incubated at Stanford University for the past years. We spun it off and what is now called EnerVenue. And in the end, what it does is you have a container that looks like a scuba tank, and you have a nickel-based electrode and a nickel-based cathode inside. And we are triggering a chemical reaction that transfers the water, the electrolyte in the vessel, actually into hydrogen. And that is a chemical reaction where you can store electric energy into chemical energy and reverse this.
And how does this compare on capacity, density?
So as we said before, the batteries has trade-offs, right? So
what is the trade-off?
We are very good in cycle lifetime. We can run 30,000 cycles compared to all other chemistries, all competing by a couple of X. By default, we cannot have a fire risk from thermal runaway because we are water-based electrolyte. We are missing basically the fire trigger. And we are very temperature resilient. So our battery from minus 10 to plus 45, you have minimum efficiency losses. The trade-off is energy density. So it's not for mobile application. You cannot put it in a car or in a two-wheeler or in a mobile phone. You have to put it in stationary 20 or 40 foot containers that serves the grid, serves the AI data centers, serves commercial industrial buildings to basically shift the demand and supply of renewable energy and, let's say, heal the grid internally.
And cost?
We share the same story.
Yeah, we are. I think in the end we are on the same path.
Yeah.
And the cost of this battery as compared to lithium, because lithium is scaled.
Well, in EnerVenue, we just raised $300+ million, and we're building a first gigafactory as we speak in Changzhou. So we are not hitting the cost curve yet, but next year we are scaling over a gigawatt, and I think then we will be very competitive.
Are you a China domiciled company?
No, we are Silicon Valley. We are an American company, but I would say we are doubling down on the best of both worlds.
Right.
I think Silicon Valley still has very strong scientific research, very innovative, and our scientists and R&D capacities are there. But there's no question that China is the world leader when it comes to cost-effective manufacturing, especially when you build a new product where the manufacturing equipment is not existing and you need to iterate fast. So we are, I want to build with EnerVenue a lighthouse project where in a globalization and geopolitical turmoil, we are creating a lighthouse and saying, hey, even in this environment, we can make the countries work together and create something that actually serves society.
So that's Henning's bet. Are you betting on a different kind of battery to come up next?
We're working on sodium battery. That's also India quite interested on that because we do not depend on the lithium because lithium is not evenly distributed on the earth. So it's most on South Africa. So there's a lot of challenge when do the lithium mining things. A lot of countries take it as a national interest now, more and more important. This session this afternoon, Robin Zheng in CTL just mentioned that they have problem that there's some country will say the lithium mining will not allowed to export anymore. Just depends on that. So sodium is everywhere. So
yeah, China said they'll stop it in 25 and then they extended the deadline, right?
Yeah, also the lithium.
It's hard to predict as geopolitics is unpredictable.
Yeah.
Probably depends on Trump.
And also the lithium refining is mostly in China, actually. So the lithium refining is also critical.
So what do you need in a sodium battery?
So we just need sodium carbonates. So everywhere in salt.
And what are the pros and what are the cons?
Pros is low cost. It's abundant. So the price of cobalt, sodium carbonates is 1/10 of the lithium carbonates.
Okay,
So
low cost.
and also it's flat. No variation.
Low cost, no fire.
And higher safety. We cannot say it's.
What is the electrolyte? It's not water.
We use similar solvent with lithium one. So that we also, that's what I mentioned about the higher energy density, the more safety issues. When we do sodium battery in the first several years, because of the energy density about 120, less than RP, so you can penetrate and do anything safety test. It all passed. It's so stable. But when we raise during the improvement, we increase the energy density close to RP, there's some safety issue comes. So I think it's kind of trade-off.
That's the trade-off, low energy density.
Yeah.
So not again for cars, again for the grid.
Yeah, but now we have kind of chemistry that's very stable. But the energy density is about 110. It can pass all the tests, low temperature performance, high rate performance. It's suitable for the energy storage. And we all need the element is sodium, phosphate, iron. So it's quite abundant.
But can it ever be used in cars?
No,
It's more great.
we can use for the 3 wheels scooters,
Right.
short range, which says less than 500 kilometers.
Right.
It's fine. But for the long range, up to 1,000 kilometers, that's the way for lithium one, for the solid state one. Yeah, sodium is, but the advantage is that it's low temperature performance. It's abundant resources. So it should quite good for the and storage. The same story with you.
What about solid state batteries? Do they have a future?
Well, yes, but far away.
Yes.
Why? I read about the rusting, the non-rusting.
Just before that, Robin just reconfirmed that. He said if the level between the research to the final product to nine is the final product, he thinks that the solid state battery currently at level 4. So it's
the technological readiness is just not there yet.
Yes.
Right.
And I think, every week we are probably, you are the same, we are opening a newspaper or LinkedIn, whatever, and then there's some companies that we cracked the solid state case. Now the race is over. Nobody cracked it up to now, to be honest.
Yeah, it's easy to make a paper, make a Nature Science publications, but it's hard to make it to real product.
How much money do I need? If I go with sodium ion or the nickel hydrogen battery that you're making, how much capex do I need to start this back home?
$50 million.
Yeah.
And
that would get me to production state where people will actually start buying my product?
Yeah.
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 For both?
I don't know, how about you?
We are the same level with lithium. So we use actually the similar facility with lithium. So we just change the material. So that's why most of the lithium battery company, they claim they have sodium product.
Lithium, the claim is 100 million RMB per gigawatt hour. Right?
Yes, similar.
So let's say $15 million per gigawatt hour.
Is recycling a good business for me to start?
So if you would scale the EnerVenue battery in India, absolutely. Because our battery, as I mentioned earlier, our electrodes are made out of nickel. And the nickel is
also
there.
Sounds like my name. Good idea.
Nickel makes nickel. So the nickel is there. So after 30 years of lifetime, you can just 98%, depending on which process, but you can reclaim most of the nickel and make the electrodes again and redeploy it. So it's a real circular economy.
Is this something EnerVenue will do if we come in as a JV partner and try to build in India?
We actually aim for not selling the nickel to the customer. So it's a business model that we are working on, but we are safeguarding basically the nickel in what we call a special purpose vehicle. And you buy the battery from us, but you rent the nickel from us. And after the lifetime, we are taking back the batteries. We recycle it, and then we give you a new one if you want.
I don't know, does India have a lot of nickel?
Similar with the vanadium things.
Similar with
flow
vanadium.
battery, yes.
Flow battery.
Which country is rich in nickel?
Indonesia.
Yeah, most of from Indonesia.
And when you take it back at the end of the life cycle, I bought a battery from you, from EnerVenue, and 5 years later, whatever, I junk the battery. How do you ensure you take it back?
So first of all, it's 30 years, but 30 years basically you can decide whether you want to keep the battery, you buy it out and you do it by yourself, or we take it back and we have local recycling partners that extract the nickel, and we're selling the nickel back to our original nickel supplier.
Is that in China?
Today, yes.
Do you get subsidy for making sure that the nickel is net the same?
Not yet.
No nickel is being exported from the country?
No.
No? But that seems like a thing that will happen, right?
No, I don't see why. The nickel, most of the nickel mining is in Indonesia. The nickel is imported then into China. We are processing the nickel here. We are basically making a battery out of it and exporting it into the world. So wherever the nickel processing will take place in the future, we can recycle it, extract it, and make it again.
With $50 million, say I were to invest that much, can I make a battery company without any subsidies, without government support? Or is it 50 million plus a lot of government support?
You can make it, but you need to find a proper product market fit in India, or whether you want to export it from India then.
Are data centers the right fit?
Yes, I think so. Data centers are very cautious when it comes to fire. So we have a lot of traction right now when it comes to data centers, especially in the uninterrupted power supply, but also in the primary energy supply, where data center providers are hesitant to deploy LFP inside the data center, because once, if you spend a little bit more on a battery, but you have full safety, it is well invested money to not burn down your data center for $1 billion.
Right now, I'm part of some data center as an investor, not as an operator, but they keep hundreds of thousands of liters of diesel and diesel generators because the hyperscalers mandate them to do that. Do you think that diesel capacity will switch to battery when they really trust it? Like, why store diesel if you can store the energy in a battery? Or is diesel more energy dense?
I would say it's not a general answer, but if you have a proper primary power supply paired with a very intelligent grid stabilization battery, where you buffer basically through the batteries your fluctuation of the power demand of a data center, yes, absolutely. Let's get rid of diesel. We earlier had a discussion about that the World Economic Forum always claims net zero is the wrong target. Just stop burning oil. That's the right target. And if we are powering our AI data centers with oil, we are out of our minds.
Yes, out of mind.
So I want to start a business in energy transition. Mm-hmm. We've established that. I will generate energy using renewable. Mm-hmm. Now, before that energy hits wherever my batteries are stored, I need to transmit that energy through the grid, which is fairly inefficient. Do you think of business opportunities in that as well?
I think the policy dependent.
Right. What if the grid is not nationalized and it's owned by private enterprise? The grid to transfer power within a country.
I think the target always must be have your generation as close as possible to your consumer and balance your energy demand with batteries as close as possible to your data center.
And if
that is the most efficient way.
And if you were to really go upstream, do you think if I had to bet on generating energy, not today, but for the next 10 years, should I bet on nuclear, solar, or wind, or hydro? If those were my options?
Nuclear is far away, guys.
Yeah.
Nuclear is far?
Yeah, I mean the new condensed some nuclear, something controlled. It's not a traditional nuclear. I don't know whether India has a nuclear generation.
It has traditionally nuclear generation, but the new kinds of nuclear that we have researched, the little bit that we have,
And a fusion, as a word fusion.
but those seem like as far or further away from the other kind of battery, solid state battery that you spoke about. I don't think they're happening in the next decade.
I think battery is more close.
I think fusion is very far away. I think
50 years.
Even SMRs are very, very far away, right?
Yeah, it's, like the small nuclear reactors. It's super cost.
It costs 5 times per unit of power. So who's going to subsidize
So
it?
for me, it's really if we close our eyes for a second and dream about the future, we must live in a future where we have solar, wind, and batteries to run basically our electricity demands.
Yeah.
Whenever and there's a base load below this, right? There's gas, there's hydropower, there's a little bit nuclear, there's an energy mix. But the majority of the energy we consume as humanity must come from solar and wind.
This is
Buffered
where
with
I have an
batteries.
advantage because India has, I think they call it like irradiation or radiation or whatever. The amount of energy that is,
You guys have a lot of sun.
we have a lot of
Yeah,
sun
yes.
and a lot of wind. Like compared to China, like I think even in China, you're
Even higher.
Much higher.
you're also moving energy from the north to the south, where the energy density is not as much. So do you think I can set up a plant, one plant, large area, say 10,000 acres, where I have solar, where I have wind, in my dreams also the money to make this happen, and I have
Let's dream big.
and I have either sodium or nickel batteries in the same location, and this can be a viable business in itself?
That depends really on your national grid policy. But if you have a consumer next to it, let's say a data center, absolutely.
I don't know the price of electricity price, whether it's high in India or not.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not. It's not
Very cheap.
How much is it?
Per unit, I think 6 rupees, 5 rupees? Yeah, which is 5% of a dollar, 6% of a dollar, 6 cents.
6 cents.
Yeah, a unit. Now, tell me this, like
That's cheap.
That's cheap. That's cheap.
when I look across the world, why are data centers inside of cities? Why are they not in the desert or in one random place where there are no people? Whenever I'm in the US, I hear people complain a lot about the water quality near a data center. The radiation is causing people to be unhealthy, all of these things. Why are not all data centers in one empty, deserted city or state where there are no people?
I don't know, but in China, we said that we put the calculation center in Guizhou province. It's far away, but it has a lower cheap electricity price. That's there, but generally most people want to set the data center close to their computer center. It's very close. I don't know the distance mentioned out there. Some cost.
I think it's a mixture between proxy to the consumers who actually consume the data and obviously also to the energy that provides it. So if you put the data center somewhere in the desert, but your gas-fired power plant is 500 kilometers away, you will have a problem.
But I'm planning it so that I have solar, wind, and battery in that location.
Yeah.
But the users is in the big cities. I don't know the
You
connection.
think latency is an issue? If I'm pulling data from a center which is far away from me, do you think I get it microseconds sooner if I'm closer physically, geography-wise?
Yes, must.
Yeah.
In the stock market, they
Yeah.
get that close to their exchanges there.
Yeah, I'm in the stock markets. That's where I've lived all my life. In stock markets, you have co-location and you'll probably have your servers closest to the order matching engines.
Right.
But here we're not talking about stock marketed data centers. I mean, hyperscalers are not latency sensitive like stock markets would be. They're not a hedge fund.
No, for me, it's infrastructure. You need to make sure you are transferring energy into data centers, transferring into computation to end customers. It all boils back to electrons, right? If you're creating decentralized computation, you solve a massive issue. Previously we talked about this very interesting where I believe that a car in the future is, for me, a car is a driving battery, right? So once you plug it in and your utilization of an average car is like 2% or so, right?
Yeah.
So 98% of the time it's standing in front of your home, you plug it in and you stabilize the grid with your car. In the same time, you have computational chips in the car that are running idle. So why not having your car as a micro data center in front of your home, solving computational issues and being part of a decentralized data center energy stabilization?
I think Elon spoke about this.
I just got the
Tesla.
results. Every car is a token factory.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We earlier talked about this. And
Yeah.
it makes so much sense to me where we are not going back into, and this is industrialization.
It's a
age,
distributed.
Right? We are centralizing everything. Yeah? Every city has one big coal-fired power plant 50 years ago, right? And now it's the world of decentralization.
Yes,
everybody creates with their solar power, their own energy on their rooftops. They have their own car with a battery that stabilizes into the grids. Their own car runs their computational issues for their algorithms, for their AI. So it makes a lot of sense to me.
But I don't
going
know if-
back to decentralization.
Yeah, 100%. But even for these things like the car or putting solar panels on the roof, I'm doing it in a house where I live right now. It only brings down my bill by like 10-20%. It doesn't solve for my energy need.
Yes.
You have a 6-cent electricity bill. Germany has a 30-cent electricity bill. That's a
Right.
different game.
Right. Yeah. So you're saving more money, but you're not powering your home
You can.
Yeah.
altogether. But
the efficiency is not enough for
Yeah.
the small area.
like Tesla had these cells, right? Even that company failed, no? Like
Yeah.
largely.
Yes.
So I previously, after I left my infrastructure world, building cement plants, coal-fired power plants, and so on, I entered an early stage startup out of Germany. It's called NPAL, and we equipped, which is now the largest residential solar company and energy company actually in Europe. And we equipped homes with solar panels, with EV chargers, with batteries, with heat pumps, and with smart metering. And we would run what we call a virtual power plant. We arbitrage trade energy, basically. We are stabilizing the grids. We buy energy for the customer when it's cheap. We sell it back to the grid when it's expensive. And you reach a high degree of autarky, 80-90% of autarky,
Right.
where the homes become self-sustaining.
Right.
And then we need to buy into the vision of not only batteries become better, we are working on this, right? But also solar is becoming better.
Yeah.
Heat pumps are becoming better. The entire electrification becomes more efficient. And at some stage, it is outcompeting fossil. And that stage, by the way, was 2023. So we are there already.
Yeah.
Going green is not some esoteric ideation anymore. It is the most economical way.
Yeah, close.
I was speaking to some Americans and they were saying, notwithstanding the drill, baby drill that President Trump has been saying, as much as 90% of new energy capacity is renewable.
Yeah.
Even today. We have, I think, a couple of minutes left. What do you think of what is happening in the world geopolitically? And for me, who wants to start a business in India, what advice will you give me in the energy transition cycle to focus on? Because you guys understand this industry.
Yeah, of course, I have do a lot of research on India, so I should understand why so many Indian customers come to us. So I think actually India is quite good, suitable for sodium-ion battery research because it's a new chemistry. For if you choose lithium-ion battery, once there's export from China, no one can beat the whole cost. But for sodium battery, it's more localized. You can get your own sodium resources. And India has a lot of the scooters. So the sodium battery is suitable for the short range electric cars. So it's cheaper, it's abundant, and the price is stable. So it's quite good for these things. And also, sodium battery is good for energy storage. As a large scale, it's disadvantage only about the size. But for, as you mentioned, for the volume things, energy storage is not a problem. It's big containers with large scale areas for that. So I think, and also there's no constraint about the elements limited. We use, I mentioned that sodium, iron, phosphate, all big chemicals things. You can every country can do it.
I like that thing.
Yeah.
For me, I think a macro trends. So the first macro trend is, we mentioned it earlier, globalization is changing. Geopolitics is there. Countries need to have certain energy independence. This will happen anyway. And we have to double down on this. There is no unipolar world order anymore where America gives the drumbeat. It's now America, it's China, and it's, to be honest, also unregulated tech companies that are large like countries on GDP wise, right? So we need to understand, where do we need to decouple? Where do we need to partner? What do we need to insource in order to prepare us for the future? And then there's the supply and demand issue. And I think in 3 super cycles. Number 1, it is electrification. We need energy. So the big first super cycle is energy. We have higher demand than supply. That is always a nice business to be in. Second one is manufacturing. We have higher demand than supply of more or less everything that we manufacture. A lot of things, be it minerals, robots, whatever you want.
We have a shortage of manufacturing input products, not output. Everybody in China seems to be talking about overcapacity, and they have to find a new market.
You have overcapacities in certain products, but you have undercapacity in manufacturing capabilities. That's a different thing,
Yeah,
right?
manufacturing.
So you need to have manufacturing capabilities that basically automate manufacturing processes in order to match supply and demand of markets. And the third super cycle is AI. And once you have enough computation, you can basically do everything. So combine all of these 3 super cycles. Let's imagine for a second, you have abundant energy, you have abundant manufacturing capacity, and you have abundant computational power. You can do basically everything. And if I would be now a young entrepreneur, it doesn't matter where in the world, whether in India, in Europe, in Africa, in the US, I would go into one of these 3 things. Understand that the geopolitics is going to be tricky.
So electrification, AI,
electrification, in energy, manufacturing, AI, and make sure you are combining these 3 things together, that you find a product market fit that you can play on global scale, and you will kill it for sure.
What do you think of AI? Last question to both of you. I think we're out of time, right?
Yeah, I think AI driven has got a lot of expanding infrastructure construction. It's a good opportunity for the energy storage for batteries. So it's kind of, AI will consume more power. So the solar things, I think currently China has we have overcapacity of the solar cells.
Yeah.
So it can go to all the world.
Yeah.
So
they're dumping it on the rest of the world.
Yeah, but I think India has your own manufacturing in solar things.
Ambani, these guys are working on it.
So next step is
there's a discrepancy there. We're part of that ecosystem.
Yes.
Again, as investors, not as operators, but the government has passed a rule saying we can't import cells from China anymore. But I think the cells to panels, there is 30% as many cells required as to the number of panels required.
Yeah, I think back to the AI thing, I think AI will accelerate every consumption do a lot of calculations, need more energy, and will create more power demand. So it's kind of self-accelerate.
It's a flywheel. 1,000 terawatt hours under 2030 additional energy demand. Think about it.
Yeah, our company, I said recently we think that we want to sell our batteries not only to carbon-based bells. We want to sell to the silicon-based market. So to AIDC is quite fit for us.
I see a lot of hate for AI whenever I'm in the US. Do you see it in China?
No. I see this completely different. China is super hyped about it. Like my grandpa is using it.
Why is that?
My children was in primary school. They know before that, I think 10 years before, people are working on math calculation, some math competition things. Now it's AI. So they try to learn some AI stuff. Now,
why do you think the Chinese are adopting it in the manner and the Americans
are not? It's very
quick. China went through an unbelievable transformation in the past 30 years. People are very open to try new technologies. Like, my Chinese grandpa is, I think, 89 or 90 years old. And in China, in Shenzhen, we have this drone food delivery. So he has a smartphone and he orders in the park this food delivery. That's amazing. So people,
in the park?
Yeah, there's a drone coming and dropping whatever fried noodles.
And how does it identify you in the park?
Yeah, you get a code on your phone, you put it in the dropping station, the drone flies into the dropping station, you take it out, right? And the young and the old generation, my daughter is 6, my grandpa is 90. Everybody is excited about it, want to try and curious about it. It's not rejection. It is more like curiosity of teach me how it works.
I think the whole generation want to embrace the new technology. They are well ready because for the last 30 years, a big change. So our generation was living in a big change from very poor to this kind of overcapacity things. So we are used to that. So when AI comes and you saw that it's a government lead. So the government gave a guideline. Everyone should work on AI. The young students should learn AI. So it's natural. We accept
But
it.
let me ask you a practical question. All these people who work in manufacturing in India, in China, are they not worried that their jobs will be taken by robots tomorrow using AI and they will no longer be required?
For the manufacturing things, there are not so many. But now for the
People
software
should be
things,
scared, no?
I think it is a mixture from my point of view. There's an excitement of a new technology and we feel the power of what it can actually move. But of course, it always comes also with a certain anxiety. I can feel it in myself, right? That there is something coming that I cannot really explain yet and I cannot foresee actually what the impact will be. But I would say in China, the excitement is outpacing the anxiety. And I think that is why everybody is pushing to the goal. Huh?
I think I get a bit further. It's kind of like you come to the socialism. Not everyone work, but only minority works they give a lot of productions. And maybe other guys, you won't work such a long time.
Probably.
Yeah, the government.
That's an interesting idea. If the people believe the government will divide the increased productivity amongst the population and everybody does better, America on the other end is very capitalistic in nature. So each person who partakes in the productivity increase, only he benefits. Maybe that's why, psychologically.
For me, it's hard to tell. I think it's, we still have a huge gap between rich and poor in China.
Yeah.
So this whole distribution that everybody becomes wealthy is not really working. Everybody became wealthier, but it's not very equal.
Right.
But for me, it's still the excitement outpaces anxiety, and that's why everybody is kind of up for it and rooting for it and fighting for it.
I don't know if you guys can answer this. If you don't want to, you can choose to say no. But do you think China is making a turn back towards the more socialistic path in the last couple of years? It appears that way in the news from the outside.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Basically, your question is: are we going back to Mao Zedong?
No,
okay.
not at all. No, Mao. No. Let's say, are we going back to the early days of Deng?
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
My feeling is that the Chinese now is more and more confident on its own way. We won't define whatever you called some Chinese character, socialism, something like that. But this own option, we do not rely on the rigid concept of this kind of what socialism, capitalism, but their own way.
I agree with you. For me, I don't think that we are going backwards in China. I think China is ever evolving and finds its way forward. And I think the Chinese answer is, I would call it a capitalist socialism, if something like that is existing.
Yeah.
It's
a new thing. I don't know how to describe it.
I agree with you.
The decision and the drumbeat and the North Star is set by Beijing, and the provinces and the cities are then executing on it. But I think China is creating a new form of government leadership and how to run a country. And I wouldn't say it's backwards focused. I think actually it's very visionary on long-term game.
In a way, even the provinces are capitalistic. They're competing with each other, which is quite intriguing.
We say that the mayor of the city is kind of a CEO of that region.
Yes.
They compete with projects with ceilings with GDP.
You know, a little bit competition in government would actually be quite okay for the Western world, to be
I think
honest.
it's a great idea. I've been reading a bunch of books on Chinese history, and I think it's worked well for China. But thank you, guys. Any last thought? I think we're out of time. Any one line to end the day?
I hope a lot of your listeners start battery companies. We are rooting for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that no single technology will solve our problem. We need more different chemistry to meet different demands. And sodium is one of option.
Thank you both for doing this.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Thank you.